So, welcome everyone. I'm Drew Newbold with the Command team. I'm excited to kick this webinar series off. This is our our home buyers guide series. So we're just talking to home buyers, whether you're a brand new home buyer or this is the sixth or seventh home you've purchased. There's always something that you can learn along the way. And so we've got a great panel here. We've got Drew Matheson, who is the buyer specialist for the Command team. We've got Sam Collier. He is a mortgage loan officer with RMS Mortgages. He's been with them for over 3 years. He's well versed in the mortgage industry. So he's here to answer your questions about lending. We've got Brooke Michael, the owner of Elite Home Inspections. She's been in the home inspection industry for over 13 years, so she can tell you all the tips and tricks of the home inspection and what to look out for and things like that. So I'm excited to jump into this, talk to these guys about the real estate market and kind of what's going on right now. I'm sure that you guys have a lot of questions too. So if you've got questions along the way, just drop them in the comments below and let's get started. So one of the first mistakes home buyers make, and again, this is 7 costly mistakes that buyers make when they're buying their next home. One mistake that we see often, you're a brand new home buyer and you want to buy a home. What do? The first step is a lot of home buyers think, I should start looking for homes. Let me go ahead and start searching for homes. So Drew Matheson, again, the buyer specialist with the Command team, why is this a mistake?
Yeah, so I would say that is definitely a mistake. The first thing that you really want to do is know how much house you can afford. So you don't want to be looking at things that you're not going to be able to get when the time comes when you get serious. So the first thing that I recommend is talking with a lender or someone in the loan process if you're not paying cash, and understand what amount of house that you can afford. That's going to be your first step. That's going to save you a lot of time and a lot of money, because you don't want to look at houses that you can't afford, and especially don't want to go under contract on one and then be in a scramble to get a pre-approval letter. So we don't want to do that. We don't want to miss out on a house because we're scrambling to get a pre-approval letter. Then the second thing after that is you really want to pick the right real estate agent and the right team to help you through this process. And then once you've done these 2 things and you've picked a good person to help you with your loan and the right real estate agent, and they've kind of educated you on the process so you feel confident, then that's when we want to start looking at homes.
Gotcha. So it sounds like you've actually seen people make that mistake. You've seen people search for homes, find something they want to buy, and then what happens?
It's gone. It's gone before they can get in contact with a lender, and it happens a lot.
Yeah. Sam, I think we've actually got one yesterday that's the exact case, right?
Yeah, it happens all the time. And I would even go a step further and say, you not only want to figure out what you can afford, but what you can get approved for, because those are entirely different questions. Because we run into a lot of, well, I pay $2,000 a month in rent right now. Why can I only get approved for $1,000 a month mortgage? Simply put, rent is not a loan. You can get evicted a lot easier than you can get foreclosed on. And ironically, a lot of people paying way more than they can get approved for don't have down payment money. So it's funny how that works out. But yeah, that's what I would say to that. Obviously, don't trust the estimated mortgage payments you see online. Oftentimes, those only include principal and interest. Your entire mortgage payment includes principal, interest, taxes, insurance, sometimes mortgage insurance, sometimes HOA dues. So the full actual payment, your housing payment, might be double what you're seeing online. You know, if you see a $300,000 house on Zillow and it's telling you the estimated mortgage payment is $500 a month, you need to use some common sense and know that's probably not the case.
Yeah. Sounds like you've seen that mistake before.
Once or twice. Once or twice.
Well, it's okay. So the next question is actually for you, Sam. Buyers think, or buyers we've heard in the past, I've got I've got a relationship with my personal bank, the bank that I do business with every day. I deposit my checks into it. I'm talking to them about getting a mortgage. They've already got my information. Why do I really need to look outside my personal bank? Wouldn't it be easier just for me to use them?
Simply put, banks don't specialize in mortgages. So the reason private mortgage companies exist, such as my company, is because we do mortgages better. So, it's kind of analogous to a surgeon. If you're going to have a really major surgery, do you want to go to a generalist or a specialist? Most people want to go to a specialist. If you're going to get brain surgery, do you want to go to someone who's going to work on elbows on Monday, backs on Tuesday, brains on Wednesday, or do you want someone that does the same thing every day and is pretty good at what they're doing? So, because of that, our entire process is streamlined. Our underwriter, our processor, all of that is in-house. Everyone has clearly defined roles. It's a very efficient assembly line. Banks, they have a lot of stuff bogging them down. I think one of the most powerful movers of human activity, especially in the mortgage industry and in sales in general, is incentive. Most banks are on salary. We are full commission. That alone, I think, is enough to incentivize to work harder, be better, work longer hours, work on the weekends, do things that banks either can't or don't want to because they know they're going to make the same amount of money regardless, which makes sense. Why are you going to go the extra mile if it doesn't matter if that loan closes on time or at all? If you're going to get the same paycheck, why would you if there's no accountability there? We rescue loans from banks all the time, and ironically, we hear that, not a lot, we hear that from time to time, my bank has all my information, or my bank didn't ask for this document, or why are you guys asking for this when they didn't? Well, usually what happens is we're more or less working with the same guidelines. We just get everything up front. So 9 times out of 10, what's going to happen is your bank needs the same documentation that we need, but they're not going to ask for it until the day before closing. And then you're going to be scrambling, trying to dig your tax returns or a 1099 out of a cardboard box in your garage.
Yeah.
Some other things we've seen happen, their underwriter might be halfway across the country in a different time zone, so they're not on the same schedule. We've even had people come to me and say, hey, I need a pre-approval letter at 7:30. My banker literally cannot access his email after work hours. So there's just a whole slew of issues you run into with a bank that does checking account, savings account, investment, auto loans, personal lines of credit. They're chasing too many rabbits. That's one way.
Gotcha. So what it sounds like is a bank is there solely for banking purposes, or mainly for banking purposes, and secondarily they do mortgages as a convenience.
Correct.
Gotcha.
It's another revenue stream, another tool in their tool belt. It is our only tool. That is all we do, is mortgages. And that's why we're.
And I think if the consumer knows that is your primary, that's your primary goal, your primary focus is them getting that home loan, then I think they could be rest assured that all the documents that you're asking for are necessary and required.
Yeah, exactly. And we want to get paid too. We don't want to make our job any harder than it needs to be. But back to the relationship part, we have a relationship with your realtor as well. So he's not going to send you to someone who he does not feel confident is going to get that closed. So that's what I would say.
Makes sense. Brooke, so the next question's for you. So we found the home we want. We make the offer on the home. We've already got our lending in place. And now my realtor's saying something, we need home inspections. I'm not sure what that is, but I've got a really good friend, Uncle Joe, he's built a cabin before. I'm just going to get him to look at it.
Well, that happens more frequently than you would think. The issue is you want, just like, you're not going to go out here and get your friend to help you buy a house. You're not going to get your friend to help you get a loan. Most of the time, you need someone that's licensed. You need someone that's professional. You need someone that knows the ins and outs of the home. And the home inspection industry, they're trained. They're trained. State of North Carolina has so many guidelines. They know exactly what they're looking for when they go in there. Then not only that, the home inspection, you have 35 to 40 pages of things that they find on a home inspection. I don't think your friend's going to find that. They're not going to know everything to look for. And in general contractors, yes, they can go through and kind of look structurally for you, and they know a little bit about everything, but as far as the focus goes, a home inspection license is what you need to go in there and do that. And I love to explain to clients, I love your, Sam, you did the medical analogy. I'm going to do the same thing. You want a specialist. You want someone that knows what they're doing. You want them to go in there and focus on exactly what your concerns are too, because that's one thing that we love is, when you show a house, you see that the clients will sometimes go to the same thing like 3 or 4 times. Well, I've been really worried about this. And it may be nothing. We may not be worried about it, but the home inspector can sit there and walk them through. Well, I understand why you were concerned, but this is what it really is, and alleviate those concerns and walk them through everything. And the reports are very easy to read, thorough. Especially our company. I love the software that we use. It's just, there's a picture and then there's the problem, and it's just it's cut and dry. The clients can look at that and talk to you guys about, okay, now here let's go to the seller and let's talk about what we want to repair.
Gotcha.
And
yeah.
it's in the report, most of the time a report, it needs to be that way too. So you can submit it to the seller and the seller takes it seriously. They might not take, your friend, Uncle Joe, they're not going to take him as seriously as they are this thorough report with a licensed company that's insured and everything else.
Well, I think Uncle Joe is well qualified.
I am sure he is. I am sure he is.
So what you're saying, though, it's important to have a licensed professional do that part of the transaction as well, right?
It is. It is.
And you also made a point that you said that it carries a little bit more weight and a lot more leverage whenever you have a licensed professional's report that you can present to the seller if you needed to request negotiations or something like that for repairs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then the software that we use too is really good because you guys can go through and pick out exactly what you want to put on the due diligence repair request and let them see that. And then they're like, oh, wow, here it is. Here's, they're asking for this to be repaired. Here's a picture. Yep, he's right. That's exactly right. And everything is, the verbiage is state required, and everything is cut and dry, and there's no questions.
Yeah. I will say I have worked deals in the past with licensed inspectors and without licensed inspectors. From the seller side, if a licensed inspector is providing that report, it does hold a lot more validity to it.
It does. It does.
Wonderful. Sam, next question's for you. We're seeing Fed rates at 0. What's that mean? Is that free money?
My favorite question.
Sign us up.
My Facebook news feed for the last month and a half has just been flooded with misinformation. A lot of economists, though, that's for sure. Pretend to be economists anyway. Put simply, the Fed rate is different than mortgage rates. The Fed actually does have the ability to affect mortgage rates in a way, probably not the way you think. So what you keep seeing in the news, when the Fed lowers their Fed funds rate, that has nothing to do with mortgages. That is the cost of banks to borrow from each other overnight. Why would they want to do that? To prevent any liquidity issues. So, you've heard stories in the past of recessions when there's a bank run and everyone rushes to the bank to pull money out. Well, if the bank doesn't have enough money for everyone, that causes panic. So how do they remediate that? They try to make more funds available, so banks can borrow from each other. It also affects short-term lending, auto loans, student loans, credit cards, personal lines of credit. Does not affect the 30-year mortgage rate. That is long-term. If you think about it conceptually, if you're parking your money in something for 30 years, it's not going to be as responsive to these short-term, day-to-day crises or political, socioeconomic news. 30 years is a long time. A lot of problems can get resolved in that. What does affect mortgage rates is the bond market, specifically the 10-year Treasury bond. So what happens is during a time like this, everyone's freaking out about the coronavirus, investor confidence is low. They sell off all their stocks, pull their money out of the stock market, but they don't just park it in cash. They don't put it in the checking and savings accounts. They want to put it somewhere safe. So they buy up all the bonds. Well, that causes the yield to go down, therefore mortgage rates tank. So if the Fed, like they've announced recently, plans on buying millions and hundreds of millions and billions and trillions, whatever it is, and mortgage-backed securities, that can have effect on mortgage rates, but they do not affect them directly via the Fed funds rate. Mortgage rates will never be zero. They're not currently zero. It is still a good time to purchase. They are still low, but they will never be zero. Anyone who tells you otherwise is either lying or misinformed.
So that's such unfortunate news that there's not just completely free money out there. So
Correct.
what does that mean? Like I'm also seeing, so the Fed rate's not free money for me to buy a home. But I'm also seeing that there are, low rates advertised online with, your online mortgage providers. Should I just go straight to them?
So the first thing I would say about that is you can put whatever you want online. You don't know what's going into that rate. I could quote rates all day long over the phone. If it's not in writing, if you're not locked, it doesn't mean anything. A couple of the bigger online lenders, I won't mention them by name, but we have competed with them on a regular basis. And I've found that a lot of these national lenders, because they don't know what's par for the local market, they will do things like charge an exorbitant amount of discount points or origination fees. For those listening who may not know what that is, a discount point is a fee you can pay to buy your rate down. So let's say I'm quoting you 4% and you say, I want 3.5. I can say, okay, that will cost you X percent of the loan amount. I'll call it $1,000. So for $1,000, you can lower your rate to 3.5. Well, I can quote with a discount point and you have no idea unless you look at a loan estimate. So it's super important when you are comparing interest rates, not only to compare the rate, but also the costs to get that rate, because that can vary from person to person. The second thing I would say is, it doesn't matter if someone can give you a low rate if they can't get you closed. I find that that happens a lot too. Someone will get lured in or enticed by a seemingly super low interest rate. They get under contract and then come to find out they don't qualify anymore, and now the rate is useless because that loan can't close.
Yep. And I'll say we have seen it on the realtor side. We've seen it time and time again. I'm going with this because the rate is extremely low. We don't care about anything outside of the rate. You get further into the deal, and all of a sudden something comes up that should have actually been caught at the beginning of the deal with the documents and the paperwork. And now the buyer's, outs quite a bit of money from the beginning. So very good. Drew Matheson, this next one's for you. I'm a home buyer. I found my dream home. I want to make a low offer right now. I want to come in super low and get a deal on this thing.
Yeah, good luck. Yeah,
Can I do it?
This kind of goes back to our first question and the second part of my answer when I was talking about picking the right real estate team. One of the things that we do with every one of our clients is do a buyer consultation where we really tell them about the market, set expectations, and really tell them what it's looking like. And I was actually just looking this morning, the list to sales price ratio in March was 98.8%, 99.8%. So that means they're getting really close to what they're asking for if an agent prices that home right. So we're going to have that upfront talk and say, hey, if we want to find the house, we're going to have to be very competitive with our offer.
Gotcha. So you're setting the expectation from up front, and you're doing that with your buyer consultation, right?
Correct. Yeah. And most houses that are priced correctly are getting multiple offers right now. And in a multiple offer situation, you need to have a strong offer and low balling. I mean, what do you think they're going to choose? 3 full price conventional loan offers or your low ball FHA offer? What do you think they're going to choose? So.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes a good point. It's always disheartening to have a buyer that's just emotionally on the hook for a home, and they don't understand how competitive the market is. So it sounds like you guys at the command team, we do buyer consultations to give everybody an expectation of what market we're currently in, what we're seeing in the current markets, and how to negotiate and navigate the current markets, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it really only takes one house that you miss out on to realize that you got to put in a strong offer. So we've seen that too.
Yep. It's usually the first one, and then they learn.
Yeah, they learn pretty quick.
Yep. Well, cool. Brooke, I've just found my perfect dream home, and it's new construction. I don't need a home inspection for that. They just built the thing, right?
That's exactly right. No, that is.
Tell us about that.
That is unfortunately a very touchy subject with a lot of people. And we're actually, I'm not going to mention any names, but a lot of builders here recently have actually been discouraging buyers to get inspections. I've talked to several agents here lately, and they said that their buyer is getting a mortgage through the builder or whatever, and then they're saying, well, you don't really need a home inspection. Do not be fooled by that. And that's what I tell buyers. I said, now is the time. Once you sign those papers and you own that house, it's yours. If you want anything, they can say that they have a year warranty, and, we could do an inspection again in 10 months, which I also recommend. I also recommend right before the year warranty's up, doing another one at 10 months. But as far as the new construction goes, we have found things, there was like 7 trusses in the attic broken, brand new construction. Wiring not done correctly. You turn on one switch and nothing's happening. Outlet's not working. There's a lot of problems with new construction. And what happens is sometimes, everybody's like, well, it's inspected. Well, yeah, it is inspected, but at the time it's inspected, you might have a plumber come in after they've already inspected it structurally. And the plumber needs to get a pipe in a certain spot. So he drills 5 holes in a stud to get the pipe through. And he only needed 1 hole, but because he kept messing up, well, where's the structural integrity of that joist now or whatever else? So those are all things that we can find on a new construction. We have never not found problems on a house ever. And there was one house I remember in the past too that was missing a whole back of shingles. The roofers just quit. They just decided, hey, we're going to go work on this other house. There's a whole neighborhood, and you're on the back side of the house, and it's missing a whole section on the back of the roof, and they're over 2 houses down, putting shingles on another house. And
that can be easily missed.
It can, because who's going to get? It was steep. Who's going to get all the way up there? I don't go up on my roof. I don't know if you guys do, but that's not something I do every day. And a lot of these people just are, it's a matter of just education, just telling them what's going on. And we're not trying to get over on them. We're trying to protect their investment. And what I tell people is house is one of the biggest investments anyone is ever going to make. Why are you not going to spend $300 to $400 to make sure that you are getting a sound investment? That's my whole point with that. And it is much easier to do it. And what we recommend with new constructions too, let me just throw that in there. You always have the blue tape walkthrough, final walkthrough. We try to do it the day before that, because then you have the report and you can walk around with the builder. You can blue tape all your things, and you can point out, hey, he said this outlet doesn't work. Hey, this doesn't work. And then that way you have everything. You got that paper report in your hand, and you've got everything you need to tell the builder at that time.
That makes complete sense. And it sounds like it's not necessarily the builder. The builder is a very competent builder.
Right.
Just people can make mistakes. People can forget things.
Yes. We're all human.
We're all human. Things happen.
Well, and you bring that all the components of that. You got plumbers, you got electricians, you got all these people.
It doesn't hurt to put another set of eyes on it.
It does not.
A trained set of eyes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Nice. Drew Matheson. I'm looking for a home, and I've got it in my head. It's my dream home. I'm looking for a unicorn. I've got it. Why is looking for a unicorn home sometimes a mistake? And a costly mistake?
Yeah. Well, unicorns don't really exist in real estate, and finding that perfect property is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. They're hard to come by. And this can also, it can narrow your choices too much too, and you might miss out on something that would have been a great house for your family. Because one of the things I do with my buyers is really break down what are your big boxes? What are what are your top 10 boxes that you absolutely need in a house? And then if that house checks off all that, but you don't like the floor in the living room, that's something that we can change. So we want to really break down and looking for that perfect that checks every little sub box. That's not necessarily what we're looking for. We're looking for those big boxes. And you can really miss out on a lot by doing that. And it never hurts to have a little bit of sweat equity in your house either, if you need to put in some new floors or something like that to make it perfect, quote unquote.
Yeah. So, and we'll start wrapping it up here because we're running out of time. But it sounds like if you keep your focus too narrow, you're going to miss out on a lot of great opportunities out there.
Yeah, and it's very possible that, and like we said before, the market is moving very quickly, and you don't want to miss out on the house that's going to work perfectly for your family because you don't like the color of the paint. So.
Yeah. So I shouldn't look for the unicorn. I don't need to look at houses first right out of the gate. I probably need to speak to a lender first to find out, what I comfortably can afford and what I qualify for. I probably need to have a home inspection no matter what type of home I'm buying, right? And I probably need an advocate on my side, a buyer specialist helping me look at all of this stuff, something that they do every day of the week. So let's take a few questions from the audience. Let's see. We've got a question here. What should you, when you're looking for when you're trying to choose a home inspection company, like what do you do? Are there things about home inspection companies that you would choose over a different home inspection company? What do you look for there? And we've got about probably 5 minutes.
I'll hurry. What I usually tell people is look for someone that can offer you the most value. And I'm not talking about cost. I'm talking about they can do everything in-house. They can arrange everything for you, tell you what you need. I am not pushy as far as trying to get you extra things that you don't need. I have people say, I want to go out there and test radon in the water. I mean, that test is $600 and takes 2 weeks to get back. Why do you think there's radon in the water? Let's talk about this a little bit. But the fact that I can offer that, water testing, we can set up termite, we can do radon, we can do mold testing, air quality, all of that in-house makes that much, much better. Also arrange septic, and well testing if that's needed. I also encourage people too, you don't want alarmists. You don't want somebody that's going to go in there and scare you half to death. And that's one thing that I tell buyers on the phone, like, we're going to tell you what needs to be done. And when you get the report, I mean, the report, y'all seen them, the reports can be scary, but you want a home inspector that's going to help you navigate through what is the most important issues in this house. There is no reason that you need to be asking for GFCIs to be put in a 1970s house. They weren't code then. You don't need them. And it's realistic. You want someone that's realistic, that's going to talk to you and explain things to you. And so that's why I like I consider myself the front door to the company. I like being the person that answers the phone and can kind of alleviate concerns from the get-go and explain to them what the value of the home inspection is. And that's the main thing, is just knowing that you can get somebody when you need them, and they're going to explain things as you need them, and not overwhelm you with too many issues.
Makes sense to me. Next question. And what we're going to do is we're going to drop everybody that you see on the panel. We're going to drop their information below in the information section, so you can get directly in touch with them and ask them any questions you've got. Next question. It looks like it's for Sam. It says, do you guys offer VA loans?
We do. VA is probably our favorite loans because let's just say their guidelines are the most arguable. They're easy to qualify for if you are a veteran, 100% financing, no mortgage insurance. So down payment is usually not an issue. 6% in closing costs, or 4%. But yeah, and while we're wrapping up, I typed up my own list of 7 costly mistakes, and I'll go through them very quickly. Always review closing costs for any estimates you receive. So we talked about that earlier. Don't just compare one interest rate to another. Compare your cash to close, any fees, any discount points, because that's where stuff gets hidden if you don't know what you're looking for. Number 2, always send your documents up front. I cannot stress that enough. Pay stubs reveal information that you might not know. You may think you're working 40 hours a week. You're actually working 36. You may not know a small part of your pay is commission-based. You may not, there's a lot of things you don't know. Same with bank statements. You might have large cash deposits that are problematic. All of this can come to light beforehand. That is always better than after you're under contract, so we have time to fix it. Number 3, don't just get pre-qualified, meaning don't just tell someone what you think your credit score is and how much money you make and try to figure out if you can get approved for a $500,000 house or not. Get fully pre-approved, let them pull your credit. I promise your bank app and the Credit Karma website does not tell you your FICO score. I've never once seen someone tell me my Credit Karma score is this and it end up being accurate. Different algorithm, long story short. I won't say that's not your real score. It's just not the score we use, which is effectively the same thing. Number 4, the lowest down payment option is not always the best. That is a costly mistake I see people making all too often. They want the low-hanging fruit. They want the 100% financing. But if you have to put yourself in a 5/1 ARM and adjustable rate mortgage that may come back to bite you later, or if you have to take extremely high interest rate just to come no money out of pocket, I don't think you're thinking long-term enough. I think you need to assess all your options and think over the course of your duration in the home. Number 5, pay down your credit cards before your statement cuts, not when it goes due. I see a lot of people, they make all their payments on time, but their credit score is 100 to 200 points lower than it should be, because what gets reported to the bureaus is your credit card balance whenever your statement cuts. So for a lot of people, that might be the middle of the month. Well, they're not paying their bill until the 28th or 29th of the month because the bill is due on the 30th or the 31st. But that one little change you can make will save you a lot of money and interest if you start paying down your debt middle of the month. Number 6, figure out your estimated monthly payment before going under contract. If you're working with a loan officer, they should be able to make you an estimate in 10 to 15 minutes. Always do that. Again, the online estimates are very rarely accurate. And number 7, most importantly, use a realtor. Even me being, there you go. Even being as close, I'm probably as close to the industry without actually being in the industry, and I would still not buy a home without a realtor. I firmly believe that a good realtor will be a net financial gain to you. They will make you or save you more money than they will cost you.
I think all of those are extremely important tips. And I'll say the number one thing that we see hold closings up, meaning closings that do not happen on time and we have to extend the closing date, are because of lending reasons, meaning that usually it's the consumer or it's the buyer not getting all of their documents in line beforehand and slowing the process up.
Mm-hmm.
So the first step, again, we'll say it again, talk to your lender. That's going to be your advocate. All of us are working on your behalf. Just give us the information up front that we ask for. It's going to make the process so much smoother. Guys, thank you for being on the panel today. Again, thank you, Brooke. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Drew Matheson. For you viewers out there, if you want to drop questions into the comment section below, we'll answer any questions that you guys have. We're going to do more of these panels. Tell me if you liked them, what you would like to see with the panels, any questions you've got, or any topics you guys want to review. Again, everybody that's on this panel their information will be in the information section below, so you can reach out to them directly. And we highly advise doing your homework up front, really diving in and understanding the process from start to finish. We do this every single day of the week, and it saves so much headache and so much time lost. And at the end of the day, it saves a lot of heartache whenever you do it the right way the first time. Is there anything you guys, the panel, would like to add to this?
No. Looking forward to doing
That's
it
good.
again.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Guys, this was exciting, and we'll wrap it up. Again, I'm Drew with the command team at Keller Williams. If you've got any questions, you could reach out to us directly. We are always happy to help.